Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to OHCAST, your island gateway to all things geek. And it's Warp Factor 5 ahead. We are delving back into Star Trek TOS Season 2. And joining me tonight, as always, Martin, how are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
I'm happy to be talking Star Trek. Anytime's good, isn't
Yeah.
it? And a familiar face on OHCAST. You've not been on for a good while, but as we affectionately just call you Rob the Klingon now. So even though there's only one Rob, you're still just Rob the Klingon. So welcome, Rob from Scottish Klingons.
Farr. Yes, I'm not going to match the theme tune there from Martin, but it's great to be on once again. As you say, it's been a wee while, but fantastic to be with you.
Yeah, because you were due to take part in our TOS Season 1, but I think something came up.
Something came up, yeah.
Well, we had a very able replacement in Eileen, who sadly she can't make it tonight, but there'll come a time when we can get you and Eileen on at the same time, I'm sure. But anyway, Season 2. So, as we always do with our retrospective shows, we'll always start with the good stuff first. So, we'll go to you, Rob. Favorite episode, Season 2 TOS.
I'm going to go with one that might be less popular, which is A Piece of the Action, which is actually my favourite original series episode of all three seasons.
Okay.
And I just love the whole atmosphere of it, the sort of 1920s gangster setting, and the way that the crew, obviously, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, struggled at first to adapt to that, but then once they fitted in, it was, that sort of Bugsy Malone atmosphere that they carried it. And I thought it wasn't too heavy, but it certainly wasn't a comedy episode by any means, but I just really love A Piece of the Action.
And I've got to wonder, do you think this set the tone for the Dixon Hill stuff in TNG? Do you think that was the template for it there?
Absolutely, yeah. I do like 1920s noir anyway. When it comes to media, so I suppose I kind of bought in through that. But yeah, I mean the whole atmosphere, as I said, of 1920s Chicago, I suppose, and then the fact that they had this society that had modelled itself on that particular period in Earth's history, and tried to replicate the gangster hierarchy and whole demeanour. Yeah, it was just fantastic.
Yeah, and I'll put my hand up as a secret guilty pleasure is Mike Hammer. I love Mike Hammer books. So if you're into noir, that's one of the ultimate noir series to read.
Indeed.
And so, Martin, your thoughts on Piece of the Action? I don't think we were expecting Piece of the Action to be brought up.
I was not expecting A Piece of the Action. I've written here, A Piece of the Action, blah, 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 brackets, mob gangster nonsense.
I said there was an element of comedy in it.
Before we had computers and phones and stuff, right? They would come out every month, like say the photography magazine, and when something was in fashion, when something was the flavor of the month, like I don't know, say the moon landing, all the photographs would be based on moon stuff, and then all the chat show magazines would be based on moon stuff. All the fashion magazines would have people wearing moon-shaped hats, and I think that at a certain point, the TV does this thing where it says, "What are we going to do just now?" And they're like, gangster mob stuff. Yes, gangster mob stuff. What have we got in the props department? Gangster mob stuff. We've got loads of it. Just wait from that last drama we did last year. And they're like, yes, get in there with the gangster mob stuff. And they just kind of went straight for it. It was a watchable episode. It's one of those ones where you're going to go love it or hate it. And I'm like, in the middle.
Yeah.
It's definitely not my favorite.
Yeah, I would put it in like I've forgotten the name of it from TNG, the Robin Hood episode. It's got that to me, it's
Yeah.
reminiscent of that. For me, fun, but just kind of disposable at the same time. Like, I don't watch TOS.
Mid-table.
Yeah, I don't watch TOS a lot, but it'd probably be one. It's a background episode for me, that one. But it's always
It's
fun to see the crew when they'd have to act out a different role, and you can see the actors quite enjoy getting to explore different parts of and getting their range together.
it's quite easy costuming as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
think they had to go too far or stretch the budget for that
yeah,
one.
because I can imagine at the studios they just had to walk through the wardrobe department and they found gangster. Because I think there was plenty of detective shows on the air in the 60s anyway, so it wouldn't have
Yeah.
been too difficult to get the costumes together. So, any other thoughts there, Martin or Rob, on that one? Or is
I think that I always think when they've got that like the likes of that on, the gangster mob boss who kind of, demands the weapons. He's like, we need the good weapons, the good stuff. Give me a couple of these phaser type things. And I think to myself, why don't they just have an emergency protocol on the ship, on the starship, an emergency protocol where if the captain or somebody presses a button, they'll transport either the crew or all the other people around the crew. So all the baddies and the gangster mob leader would just be immediately transported up onto the ship. I know there's the prime directive and non-interference and all that, but if they just kept them there and then gave them a quick stun and then put them back down, they wouldn't really have known what was happened.
I know. I think if you look at DS9, some of my favourite episodes there, Bada Bing.
Yep.
So again, it's that casino style heist, which has got a definite gangster mob feel to it. So I must be a sucker for that genre.
Although I have heard many making the argument about Bada Bing that Esri Dax's uniform of the casino's a draw for some, or for at least the men in the audience anyway, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not honestly until you met, it's not an episode I've give too many thoughts about. So yeah, an interesting start. It wouldn't be a Star Trek show without some disagreements.
I have to throw a curveball in. That's it.
I'm also curious, was the Prime Directive even a thing at this point in Star Trek
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
Was it?
Oh.
No,
Because
right.
they couldn't allow the society to move away from the mob when they left. So yeah, definitely was a prime directive in action.
Okay.
Although I noticed throughout this season 2, that apart from the fact that Captain Kirk seems to wear the new, the pale green V-neck with the gold braid kind of along the edge of it, that one that makes him look a bit more tarty. He wears that in a lot of episodes in this season 2, with no explanation as to why. It's like, is
Yeah.
your number one uniform in the washing machine, Captain? Yes, I'm just wearing this, casual
Yeah.
stuff just
Yeah.
just now. But I think they didn't really take great advantage of the gangsters' malls in this one. The gangster malls were there, and yet in a lot of other episodes in this season
Yeah.
2, which we'll come to, Captain Kirk does his stuff with the females of the species to help get them out of a pickle, as only
Yes.
a captain probably could. Whereas in this one, the gangsters' malls just seem to be like, yeah, they're there, but they're not really playing a part in it.
Background. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably with that, Martin, let's hear your favourite of season 2.
I think it's got to be Mirror Mirror, the evil
Ooh,
mirror universe.
yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of good episodes, and we'll come to them, but Mirror Mirror is a little classic, and I think I love it. I love it or hate it one for a lot of people because it's completely out of the genre. But I love it, and I find the fact that it introduces the idea of parallel, the same universe but parallel. There's another you, there's another Spock, and they're all just doing slightly different times or timelines. Or
I'm pretty sure it's a universally loved, this one. I don't hear too many detractors about Mirror Mirror.
Okay.
I think
I'm
the
glad.
detractors are more about what happened down the line with some of the Mirror Universe stuff. But it's just a classic, because how do we make Spock look evil? Well, we give him a goatee beard.
Give him a beard.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, there's this other trope in Star Trek. Well, the women in a Mirror Universe, how are they going to be? Well, they're going to wear revealing clothes and just be wanting to go forth and multiply with the men a lot. Yeah, that's how. That's the unfortunate side of this as well.
More revealing clothes than the ones in this universe, because they're pretty skimpy. Those little belts that they're wearing, pretending they're skirts.
Yeah. I think Eileen had things to say about some of the uniforms. But yeah, you should say somehow they made Uhura's uniform even more skimpy. Yeah, that is an achievement on its own.
That was an achievement.
I think
it is.
I mean,
it's
sorry,
like
Cal, looking at.
Sorry, I'll let you go. Sorry.
Looking at other Star Trek series, and obviously they've all really now had a shot at a mirror universe to some extent, but arguably Enterprise was the one that carried it off best.
Yeah, I think it really did. I think that seemed to actually use the idea to its potential most. As well as letting the actors have fun playing evil versions of their character, there was actually a substantive story to the Enterprise one, and also came at it was in the fourth season of Enterprise. Yeah, so that's when Enterprise sadly it was starting to turn a corner at that point before it ended. But yeah, it is one of the better the DS9 Mirror Universe stuff is so hit and miss at times. There's good stuff, and there's some pretty awful stuff as well in there. But no, the whole Mirror Universe, you could see it in this, even in this as well. It's like we said about the other episodes, piece of the action. The actors are just having a little bit of fun doing something different here, and here it's just comically, quite literally mustache twirling versions of themselves.
Yeah. Oh, it really lands. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
It works so well.
Yeah.
And as you say, it's literally that parallel universe of here are the good guys, and now here's the evil, darkened version of them, as it were. And it's just something so different to try out at the time. It looks great in color. Of course, 1960s color is only it can, with the vivid images.
Yeah, because I'll probably, because it's
they all
such
carry it off.
Yeah, I was going to say, for such a comically evil universe, this is where the bold coloring actually really works well. Like, in Deep Space Nine, it's muted colors. You couldn't really differentiate too much between the different, the costume, but here, you can see just the instant difference between the two universes.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's also,
I agree that the characters, you could tell from their voices and their mannerisms, they were having a whale of a time playing their evil alter egos.
Yeah, it gives Shatner even more time and chance to chew the scenery, as we done throughout season 2. But yeah.
Well, we say that about. Sorry, carry on, Mark.
I can't remember in season 1 and possibly again in season 2 here. I can't remember which episode. William Shatner, he gets the evil. I think it was season 1. There's a robot modeled on him. A bit like that movie. I can't remember the name of it now, but the robot becomes him, but it's the evil version of him. And again, as in this case, immediately the evil version has the Buster Keaton dark eyeliner to look really really evil, and you can see immediately, but you can see immediately, which is great. There's no thinking about which one's the evil one and which one's not. So
Yeah.
power to them. They played it good.
I was going to say that about this preconception we all have of Shatner has been so. I found rewatching to you, he is quite measured a lot of the time. It's just when he's told to emote, which is sparingly. It's not as much as we think it is. Yeah, then it gets to the classic Shatnerian that we all like. Everyone like when we do our Shatner impression, basically, he goes to that. But like
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of the
I mean,
time, it's not. It's like with the new films, they took all the most superficial qualities of Kirk and they amplified them so much. Like the main one, he doesn't follow orders, which is only happened about twice, isn't it? He disobeys orders directly, and even then, it's because it's for the greater good. Whereas in those Kelvin films, he doesn't listen to anybody, and you're like, why is he still in Starfleet? He doesn't obey anybody. This guy, and also his womanizing, which again is not as pronounced as you think it is when you go back and watch it. Like he's actually quite a restrained captain with just a good bit of charisma to him.
Yeah, I think when you see William Shatner as well in The Twilight Zone
Yeah.
as an actor, he he appears in a couple of very strong episodes of The Twilight Zone, and he just plays the character really well, and it's not over the top. It's he's emoting, it's dramatic, but it's not the stereotypical Shatner at all. And it was interesting that they went for it, and Paul Wesley did a skit of him really in Strange New Worlds, where it was the introduction to one of their episodes, and he was doing the classic over the top, chewing the scenery Shatner. But as you say, I think you're right, Callum, that it's become a sort of urban myth that's what he did for 3 whole seasons. But no, it's not. It's not, in
Was
fairness.
Yeah, apparently all he did was just womanize and never obey a single order, which is so
Mm,
far from the truth. And
yeah,
saying that, I've got to say, of all the new Paul Wesley's actually very close to Shatner and how he plays it in the scene.
yeah,
I know a
yeah.
lot of
Good choice.
people rejected him on site, which I think they're always going to do when you recast that role. But compared to Chris Pine's, Paul Wesley is he's pretty, like for a younger kind of just raw version of Kirk, he's got it spot on, I've got to say.
He does. He's believable. When you know Shatner so well, you can see Paul Wesley as the young version of him. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, and with that, I'll go into my favourite. I don't know this is a surprise. Doomsday Machine.
Classic episode. Yeah.
It's a
Very good.
well-known, well-done Star Trek trope of encountering a life form or something they just don't comprehend. They don't know where it came from, and it just kind of is. It's there, and they've just got to deal with it somehow. And it's also the first of many Moby Dick analogies as well. And you see that repeated about, lost count of how many times Moby Dick turns up in Star Trek.
Yes.
And I've got to say, it's very interesting. It shows what the 60s approach to mental health was, because what's the first thing Kirk does when he meets this traumatized captain? He slaps him across the face. Almost like, for God's sake, don't stop being such a crimey. It just
Put
says,
yourself
we've
together,
come.
man. Put yourself
Yeah,
together.
Yeah.
where it's kind
Yeah.
of, you could argue, is that better than hearing Diana Troy stating the obvious? I think he's very traumatized, this man. I said, well, yeah, of course he is.
Well, no, it's good observation, as you say, the sort of element of mental health that's involved there in 1968. But yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, it is a very, very good episode, very strong, and it's interesting to see them confronted by technology as well, which is beyond their understanding. Human comprehension is beyond the level they're at, and the whole worry that creates, and that still has so much relevance for us now. If you think about, the way technology has multiplied and developed, particularly over the last 10, 15 years, and now here we are with artificial intelligence, and you could almost update and write the episode for now, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could, but they've done it over and over. I know we'll eventually get to Discovery, and I know that's probably people running to their keyboards right now, but it does this big. It's something Discovery never really got right, was big existential threat, which is what they went for all the time. You just need to look at this, and then TNG. You got the crystalline entity. You've got V'Ger in the motion picture. And then even like Star Trek 4, the whale probe, they just can't comprehend this thing. And they just somehow have to deal with it. And what I like about the Doomsday Machine, it doesn't need any explanation. It's just a big terror. It's there. We have to deal with it. We can't debate the morality or anything. We just got to somehow kind of get around this thing.
Yeah, very much
And
so.
then, and also a very present theme in Star Trek is like how little it takes, even when you're at your better self. It doesn't take much for you to go down that dark path, and you have to keep. It's almost like you have to. It's the struggle is always ongoing. I think it's something that TOS touched on quite a lot. Was like the struggle is always there. You're never. We might be good now, but you've got to keep fighting to be good.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Very much so. Coming up against these very alien, elements, which, as I said, beyond human comprehension. But yet, yeah, you have to keep yourself in the straight path when confronting them. So,
Yeah, Martin, you got anything to say there?
I was going to say, I think it's interesting that the captain who survived from the other starship, it's an interesting part of the storyline where because he's effectively still got his marbles. When he takes command of the Enterprise, he's like, I'm above you, Spock. I'm in command, and Spock's logic, despite Scotty and Ice from Uhura and everybody getting it like, WTF, you're not going to let him take command. Spock's logic's like, well, yeah, strictly speaking, I do have to let you take command, and then he's obviously hell bent on getting another go at destroying the beast, and then Kirk's got to cope with that from the other ship. He can't do much about it, so they have to resolve that. The crew have to resolve that little bit pretty much by themselves, which they do. They get round to saying that he's not fit to be the captain, so they can relieve him of command and get back control of the ship. But it's an interesting little bit to it. But that captain, who's the one who he screwed it up in the first place, and now he's screwing it up for the Enterprise when he takes control of it, when he commandeers it. It's quite a recurring theme in at least this season 2. I can't remember if it was in season 1. I think there's at least half a dozen episodes where they go to a planet, like the what was the one you said, a piece of the action, a piece of the action. It was another captain or another starship that was there 100 years previously, and just happened to have a book on board about the Chicago mobsters, and that's what contaminated that. And there's quite a few episodes where where the captain, who's the strongest person on the ship, obviously, like Kirk is on his, is the person who survives, but generally becomes contaminated or defiled, and then has a very bad influence on the planet. And even a couple of the episodes, they're running riot on the planet, just doing things their own way. So it's interesting to see that they always put that in there, that happens, although Kirk never succumbs to that, which is, obviously he can't.
Yeah, yeah, because it's interesting saying that, and then again, I'm going to bring this to the modern discourse around Star Trek. When we hear constantly about Gene's vision all the time, and it says there was fallible humans all the way through this season. The idea that, I don't know what you guys, your opinions on Discovery and that is, Starfleet people wouldn't behave like that. So, well, they're constantly showing us being flawed people, like we said, but who are fighting those flaws all the time to be better, and that's they check the flaws all the time. That's, to me, that's Gene's vision. It's not just that's it. We're all peace-loving hippies suddenly, and we never have a conflict again.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair comment.
Yeah, because I think that's a more powerful message than just suddenly it's utopia somehow and we all get along. It's just that, no, we've got to keep fighting for things to be good. You know, the fight, the struggle never stops. And I think that's, like I say, it's a lot more powerful than what people think Gene's vision actually is. I know we've probably upset some people, but when you talk about Star Trek, there's strong opinions everywhere, as we well know. So I think with that,
they've got the idea of what the utopian ideals should be, and we're making great strides in getting there towards those. But without the infallibility of the human condition, there wouldn't be much to base an episode round for a lot of episodes.
because there's a very good, and we didn't mention in season one of my favorite, and I didn't mention it, and I've forgotten the title already. That's how good an episode. Sorry, that episode where they do the war simulations, the computer calculates the casualties, and they send people.
Yeah.
It's like, again, for people who go on about Gene's vision, listen to Kirk's speech at the very end there. Like when he says, "You've made war something clean and safe, and it should never be. It's always got to be a lesson, and all you have to do is wake up and say, I'm not going to kill today," and that's where it all starts.
Yeah,
Like, that's very powerful.
Yeah,
it's very powerful. But I mean, for all the ideal of utopia as well, in TNG, we get to the stage where it's a cashless society, so money is no longer relevant to the Federation. But I don't. That's not quite the case in the original series.
They do mention Federation credits, don't they?
They do, yeah. I mean, the point isn't laboured, but it's interesting. I always think about utopia. You know, you would want to get to a point where you're kind of overcoming capitalism, aren't you? There's not a profit motive when there's no money, so therefore you're trading on much more equal terms. But that they haven't. Yeah, the human condition again, as you mentioned, Martin, that possibly holds them back in the original series.
I think it does. I think that it's kind of inferred for sure that they don't really need the money, although there might be some inferences at some point about they do kind of get paid in some way or another, but they don't need it. However, they obviously have to trade with other planets. You know, in one of the episodes in here, they're down on a planet trying to negotiate mining rights. And obviously, you know, they're like, this is a valuable commodity. So there's still value to be traded and put on stuff in a galactic scale, but we've overcome our petty differences over money on our own planet. I think is safely inferred there.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Yeah, and speaking of the season, it's notable there's a few firsts in this season. You know, namely one very important one. It's the first Chekov. Chekov joins in the season.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I was reading up. Do you know why they chose Chekov to begin with? I'm not talking about the Russian thing. Why they chose Walter Koenig?
No.
They were looking for some eye candy for the ladies. That is actually it.
Right.
And he had the exact same look as someone on a very popular, I can't remember the name of the show. He was originally going to be something else, but then Gene saw the US was basically getting its arse handed to it in the space race. And so he said, I'll put a Russian in there to show, you know, this pettiness, we can overcome it. And he was put in as George Takei wasn't available for the first part of the season. He was filming Green Berets at the time. And they thought he might not come back. So this was going to be his replacement. But as we know, they became, I think people have called them the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of Star Trek, really, isn't it? They're kind of there, and no one really, they're kind of the two kind of comic side characters in a way.
Yeah. And Chekov becomes so integral to the whole story afterwards with the high point of the vessels or vessels in the fourth film.
Probably outside of Beam Me Up, Scotty, it's one of the most iconic Star Trek lines is nuclear vessels, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that he was put in there as eye candy, because I noticed two things about him in this season. One, I can't remember, was it his first
No,
appearance?
this is Chekov's first season, this one.
But his hair, oh my
Yeah.
God. His hair is like about a foot out from his head, and
Well,
it's
it's
wild.
the 60s.
Yeah, it's
A chiseled jaw as well.
Yes.
he did look a bit like that guy from the band The Monkees, that kind of that
That's what it was.
hairstyle. Yeah.
In fact, that was
And the
mentioned as
picture,
well, that he looked
Mm.
like the guy from the Monkees, which is another reason you cast him, basically.
And then in one of the episodes, I note, and in one of the episodes, Chekov is kissing somebody, one of the other female crew members on the planet, which is what gives the natural residents of the planet the idea, that looks all right what they're doing. We should try that, which causes eruptions.
Yep.
Time directive. Out the window.
He was also cast with it in mind that if they had femme fatales, he'd be the easy one, because they couldn't have Kirk falling for a femme fatale for obvious reasons. But Chekov was all put in there, like, if there's going to be a seductress who's got evil motives, Chekov can fall for her first.
Yeah.
And so,
if there was going to be a seductress with evil motives, it's got to be episode 1, Catspaw. Sylvia, who was the black cat who was going to eat them all, becoming giant in the end. But the woman, the female who plays her, the Sylvia character, was so iconic. 60s sultry seductress. I don't even know what the actress's name was, but she was the classic. And then, of course, she falls for Kirk, who milks it and uses her to rescue them, which of course he should, because that's what he has to
he's
do.
Kirk. Yeah. And so, do you know what some other firsts in this season are?
Well, go on.
Yep. It's the first time you see that ever. It's in Amok time when they do that greeting. And we discussed this on the last show, Martin. Do you remember where Nimoy got that from?
No, my memory's like a time.
It's a Jewish. Is that a Jewish symbol?
Yes. Basically, he was at synagogue as a boy when they were meant to be praying, and they're meant to keep their head down and eyes closed. And he just had a peek up, and he just saw the rabbi was doing that to the congregation, and it just stuck with him. And he used that as well. And adding to that, it's the first ever Live Long and Prosper. That's where it started. And Amok time was so much of the Vulcan culture.
Yeah, just going to say that. It was a breakthrough episode, obviously episode 1, season 2 well, but it to allow us to see the inner sanctum, really, of Vulcan as a planet and a culture was really good. I mean, it worked fantastically well, because Spock's such an established and popular character by then, so to get that background fleshed out, green blood and all.
It's one of those episodes, if you just think about it for a second, the plot is Mr. Spock is in heat. It sounds, and he has to fight Kirk to the death for a woman. And you just
Every
think,
7 years.
And you just think that sounds just ridiculous. But it is, like I said, Leonard Nimoy, when he did a Spock episode, he carries them amazingly. Like nearly every Spock, apart from one very glaring one, but then that's not really. Is that one in season 3? You know the
season
one.
3. Spock's brilliant. Yeah, they opened season 3 with that.
Yeah, which was bizarre. You open this one with Amok Time, a Spock episode, and it's almost like we've got to go to the other end of the barrel now. We've got the very cream here, but what more can you say about? There's the music as well, one of the most famous bits of music, and the fight at the end, and also Probably my favourite Spock moment is when he comes back up to the Enterprise at the end and he sees Kirk's alive and he just, Jim! And it's
Almost
just,
emotional. Yeah.
that was just like, that to me, more than any other Spock moment, that's my favourite one. Just, he momentarily lets it all slip and then just corrects himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is, and it's easy to say, oh, I think we said this in season 1 that there was quite a few times where Spock makes a face that's obviously an emotional reaction, as opposed, but he's half human, as explained. So, yeah, he does have that
He has the
reaction.
eyebrow raise perfected by season 2.
Yeah. I've got to say that Leonard Nimoy, like, on paper, he has to play an emotionless character, which isn't strictly true. He's a character who hides his emotions.
Yeah, yeah,
But
Yeah.
I know you see, like, how he did it compared to, well, the worst example was Enterprise era Vulcans, which they thought emotionless meant smug and arrogant. But like he plays it like there's a warmth to Spock and
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
like almost like this kind of brotherly, fatherly kind of love he has for his crew and loyalty, which it's explored later on in the movies to a great
Yeah.
deal.
As
But
Kirk says, of all the souls, his is the most human
yeah,
in a search
which
for Spock. So,
yeah,
yeah.
which if you say Shatner can't emote, that speech in Wrath
Mhm.
of Khan just blows that out the water.
That's
Just
how
clip
that's
it down.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Pon Farr was and it's also another favourite episode. I think Amok Time because
Mm. Very strong.
always very very strong. Like basically, it was the foundation for Vulcan culture as we know it in the series, wasn't it? Nearly,
Yeah, even the sort of vivid colours of the planet, I thought were fantastic. It just looked so alien,
yeah.
the way it's portrayed. Yeah, the direction, just the setting, the colour, all
Is
well
it,
done.
is it just me, or the fact that the Pon Farr episode is so heavily, Spock, he's so aggressive at the start, like to the female yeoman Rand, and then to the captain.
Yeah,
You can't say there's no emotion in there to get that amount of aggression, and the captain's perplexed but not wanting to give up on him. So there's all that tension building up, and then you soon discover that it's sexual tension, and they're like, whoa, this is a sexual tension pot waiting to explode. And then it's called Pon Farr. Is it just did some script writer have a little thing saying, let's get something that rhymes with porn star? In my
Yeah.
mind, the Pon Farr episode is really called Porn Star episode
well,
because that's what it's all about.
I
because
do
when
I
you
do love McCoy in the Amok Time as well,
yeah
because he plays the part so well, Forrest Kelly, but the fact that he's genuinely shocked by the time they get to the planet, and he's shocked by Spock's behaviour.
yeah
Of overcome by it, and he really is trying to. There he is, this McCoy's always a
yeah
cranky old man, of course, but
yeah
here he is really trying to be much more diplomatic. He's trying to get in between Spock and Kirk and to try and wrap his head around this strange Vulcan ritual, which only happens so many every so 7 years. But yeah, I think McCoy's really really good in Amok
yeah.
Time as well.
And I'm just going to say, on a personal note, this is one of my favourite memories when I went to Destination Star Trek. There was a Kirk and Spock dressed up in the outfits, and they reenacted the fight just
Mm.
on a spur of the moment. Someone had a boombox of the music. It was just great. So whoever
Yeah.
those two were,
Very
fantastic
iconic.
job you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the famous Trek Fu on display as well. Just always a joy to watch the martial art known as Trek Fu. Because as we all know, we've all done that in a fight and knocked someone out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
So,
but I was watching one of the episodes. I think it was in season 1. It might even have been with Eileen, maybe not. I don't know. I was watching one of the episodes in season 1 with somebody, and Spock Kirk is running away from a baddie of some description. I can't remember. He runs round the corner, and there's like a trough or something there. I bet you, instead of running over and hiding behind that, he runs towards it and leaps over it, like somersaults over it to hide behind it. You know, a roll to get
yeah.
over it. And he did. That's exactly what he did. So, yeah, but, which is great.
So I think we've covered a good point. So low points now. We'll go to you, Rob. Low point of the season.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I don't think there are too many, because I think season 2 is the strongest of the 3 original series seasons. It's, you know, consistently good, where you get a run of maybe 5 or 6 episodes which are strong. I think they can all be considered to be strong. As we were saying there, it opens so well with a mock time. It's quite far into it before there is an episode that you would watch and kind of think, is it losing its mojo here? Is it going off track a bit? And the Doomsday Machine, which is we also we're talking about, is such a fantastic episode, is followed by Catspaw.
Which,
And
dear
I
Martin.
think, I think I can see what they're trying to do. I think, you know, you're in the 1960s, and it's the era of the Munsters and the Addams Family. These are very popular, of course, at the time. And they're wanting to do some sort of Halloween-themed episode, but it just does not quite work. And even, you know, they've got the spooky castle, of course, and they've got the cauldrons, and the crew end up in the dungeon. But it's just not convincing. It's neither really one thing. It's not horror. It's not comedy. It's not really sci-fi. It just sort of falls down. But to get to, you know, that far into the season, to get to episode 7 before the first misstep, I think is testament to the writing and the acting in season 2. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for Catspaw overall. I would briefly mention the apple, which I know a lot of people are not fond of particularly, but yeah, there's something endearing about it. I do quite like the story of the apple, so I wouldn't knock it down so much, and it's got David Soul in it as well. So yeah, so I'm going to go for Catspaw as the weak point.
Okay, interesting. For me, it's Mudd. I have never. It's one thing Star Trek cannot do is lovable rogue characters who live on. The only one I think who came close was Rasmussen in TNG, but that's because he was basically the villain of the piece. They played him as an eccentric role. And of course, the other one, which I shudder to think, was the outrageous Okana, which is a horrific episode to sit through.
Yes.
It's I think one reviewer said it's almost like this is anti-art, this episode. It's like everything you think, it does the exact opposite. But no, like, and I'm no, this will be very confident, but see Mudd in Discovery, he is way more interesting than this version of him. This guy's just annoys me all the time. And he's basically a space pimp, and that's it, really. That's the depth of his character, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose you could look at it in terms of he's a human trafficker, or a people trafficker, if you want to put it that way. Long before perhaps that was something that was, well, of course, it's always been a terrible issue,
Yeah.
because it's a form of slavery, but possibly, you know, long before it was properly addressed in the mainstream. So I think there is a message there. I think that's a positive. I'd absolutely take a point. Harry Mudd is meant to be this sort of lovable rogue, but he's not. He's a very dark character.
Which is why they did it. Which is why I argued with people about this. It was better in Discovery that he was a dark, kind of dangerous character. And people say, "Oh no, he's meant to be eccentric." I said, "No, that version." And who played him in Discovery again? I can't remember.
Yeah,
it's a well-known actor.
You're right, but it was the acting was better. But yeah, as I say, so there's an edge to it. There's an important point to be made about the dark side of human trafficking, or people trafficking, and it's so Mudd's, but I quite like. I do quite like. I don't think it's a good episode either. I agree with you in that in season 2. But what I do quite like is the skepticism that he's met with by the crew. They are not a fan of his, clearly. So they're just not buying into this.
Yeah,
on the whole.
That's because now you think of and again compare it to Outrageous O'Connor, where everyone apparently falls in love with the guy for no reason whatsoever. Just oh God, I can't stand.
Yeah.
When we get to TNG, I've got a lot to say about that episode.
Yeah,
that's in the future yet. Okay, Martin, your thoughts on Harry Mudd? You a fan? Not a fan?
Definitely, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Harry Mudd badge to wear at convention. He always seems to have some technological artifact that he's discovered that gives him almost supreme control over the Enterprise in whatever form it's at the time, and all the crew, and it always kind of dissolves into this kind of silly character, in the original series anyway. He becomes this kind of roguish buffoon, and once they figure out how to get the better of him, it's all very kind of silly. Nobody gets hurt. It's a bit like the A-Team. There's bullets flying everywhere. Nobody gets hurt, and they're all smiles and happy to leave each other stranded somewhere. It's been fun playing with you, kind of thing. It's a very strange thing. Yeah, he's the kind of character. If he walked into a room and started with the loud mouth, trying to convince you, I would think to myself, "Oh, we've got a right one here. I'm getting out of here. I can't listen to this guy anymore."
Not taking it. Yeah, he's a snake oil salesman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
that's Harry Mudd. But personally, if I'm voting for an episode to cast on here, yeah,
Ben,
it's Friday's Child, right? And it's not because it's not done well. Friday's Child, there's a planet with these tall native warriors who don't put much store in technology. They're not into advanced weapons and things. They've got a kind of thing they can throw in some spears and stuff, and they're about 6.5 foot tall, but they wear these kind of camp chiffon, fluffy fur-edged bearskin type things, right? And they go down to this planet to talk about mining rights and discover, God almighty, there's a Klingon there already also discussing mining rights, but secretly we know he's poisoning the minds of these locals who are very tribal. And the tribal chief, who's in charge of it all, the guy who's in charge of it all, his woman is very beautiful and clearly up the duff. She's got a huge cushion under that dress, right? And this is the pinnacle of, we're moving forward in the 60s. We've got beautiful female black actresses playing strong parts. We've got Russians, we've got Japanese, and then Dr. McCoy goes up to this lady who's pregnant and says, "I'm not sure there's, everything's good here, so I'm just going to check." And he puts his hands on her pregnant tummy, on her dress, over her dress, and she quite rightly gives him a smack. Says, "Don't touch the chief's woman, you human scum." And he gets mad, and then he's like, "I'm the ship's doctor here. If I want to put my hands on your tummy, I will." And he does it again, and you're thinking, "Oh, that's not a very forward attitude, no, nothing to put the patient at ease or anything, or permissions. It's just, I'm the ship's doctor, I will do it." And he gets, another smack this time. And I'm thinking, yes, okay, this is getting progressive. They're showing you that you can't just, even a doctor can't just do that. And then he turns round and he says, "I bloody well will." And he smacks her one. He gives her a right cracker across the so that she submits to his medical examination. And I'm thinking, that's not going to go down well in any century. I don't think that would have went down well at the time. And then I'm thinking, surely the captain or Spock's going to intervene. The camera cuts to them, and they're both giving it the, check the trouble he's getting himself into. This is so funny.
What a rascal.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh my God. There must have been surely protests by women's rights groups if they had them back then.
Well, if not, it's probably a good thing Eileen's not here. I can imagine what she would have to say about this.
Absolutely. And then at some point, the child is born, and the woman's like, "I don't want it because I can't be the chief with this child. This is no, I don't want the child." And he's full of all the, "You're a woman. Don't worry. I know. You'll learn to want the child," and all this kind of advice. Oh my God! Yeah. Eileen would be turning red, blasting this if she was here just now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for all we're talking about tropes earlier on with William Shatner and his overacting and all the rest of it, but for all there is so much often said about Star Trek's progressivism, and it's ahead of the game, and it's ahead of its time. And is it really? And in some ways it is. But we're still we're casting eyes back to this now, and we're thinking this is 60 years ago. And as you say, these things are given as a shudder here in the year 2026, rightly so, of course. But it's still very much, Star Trek is still a product of its time.
Yeah.
In the 1960s, the original series. And while it pushes the envelope in places clearly in a positive direction, there's a lot of areas that it doesn't. And that's a very good strong example of it. So
Well, I can't mind who said this, but they said of Gene Roddenberry. Said what was Gene Roddenberry's attitude to sex? They said his answer was probably yes, more please. Just probably when you look at it, there's something maybe to that.
Yeah. So I think it does frustrate me at times. I must admit when I read comments on social media in particular saying, Star Trek's always been the most progressive show there is. You go right back to the 1960s and look how forward thinking it was. I think, was it really? In some respects, I think people get hung up on the first sort of interracial kiss between Kirk and Uhura and think, that's all we needed to show ourselves up as this sort of waving the flag for equality and so on. But it still gets a lot wrong. There's a lot of sexism inherent in the original series. All seasons 1, 2, and 3. So but it's interesting now we've come to the full circle, I suppose, in more recent Trek shows. I don't want to get into them too much, but just touching upon it where people are accusing it of being too woke, or it's gone too far, to try and please everyone now and to try and tick all the. It's a box ticking exercise, which is a horrible phrase, but this Star Trek's always been, it's always been edgy when it comes to this. But
I think it's
yes and no.
it's always a reflection of where progressivism is at the time. I think
Yes.
it's the best thing. And it's not perfect, but it's like you could watch them and see how we've progressed along the years. Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. And I think I will just say about the people upset about the gay Klingon on Academy. And I'm just saying, guys, the Klingons are big, buff men who wear leather, sing songs, and have pain fetishes. They're not the most heterosexual guys you think. They're not as heterosexual as you think they are.
You know, at the end of the day, I mean, people are putting up pictures of folk have always worn skirts in Star Trek, male characters, and they put up Scotty wearing a kilt, and you think, oh, wait a minute.
Well, and just to even put that, like, if they're on about skirts don't make someone masculine, we've got Doug Bradley coming on. His Hellraiser outfit is essentially a long frock. Does anyone accuse that? Well, that character's perverted beyond belief anyway. If you haven't realised that about Pinhead, I don't know which version of Hellraiser you watched. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is. That's how I view it. It's almost like it's the mirror of how the progressive movement was at the time, because it's always quite progressive writers they have. And like even then, you hear some of the writers saying, "We wish we could have just gone a wee bit further." Like I think Ira Stephen Bear was quite open about that in the documentary. He said we really didn't address LGBTQ stuff enough in the show, and he said it's his biggest regret about Deep Space Nine. They didn't go there enough with it. But and that probably one more episode worth mention because tying into Deep Space Nine nicely, Tribbles. A beloved episode. It's daft, silly fun, and it knows it, and it just rolls with it. It's like it's quite to use. I can't believe pun intended. It's good, harmless fluff. This episode.
Yes. You get Scotty starting a bar fight. You know what's not to love.
And the thing that upsets Scotty is not that they insult his captain, but they insult his ship. And it's like when Kirk saying, "So you started a fight not because you insulted me, but because you insulted the Enterprise." You
Well,
can see Kirk going, "Thanks for standing up for me, Scotty."
it's a really good episode, and it's as you say, it's in that section of season 2 that where it's aiming for comedy. It's playing it much lighter, which is a positive, definitely.
And then it's got the perfect sequel with a Deep Space Nine episode, and it just
a great homage.
Which is basically it's that whole episode's a love letter to TOS, and it's done beautifully. Like,
yeah,
I think the Tribbles is on the face of it, it's definitely one of those nonsense episodes where they don't have to think too hard. They have a bit of fun, but at the same time, it's just one of those ones that's just nonsense, but everybody remembers it and everybody kind of loves it. Like, oh, the Tribble, I remember them. Yeah, if you were at a convention and you saw a Tribble, you'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah. A shout out as well to our one of our crew members, Anthony, over in Dublin, who very kindly gives out Tribbles to this day. He's called the Tribble Whisperer, as he's sort of not quite his day job, but he runs quizzes or things where people can sort of send in an answer and they win Tribbles, which are made by himself, and
nice.
they're absolutely brilliant. He's been kind enough to gift me some of them over the years, but the thing is, you know, as you say, you go along and people know what Tribbles are still, and it's entirely down to this one episode initially. So yeah, still get resonance to today.
Yeah,
and I can't help thinking that the Tribbles was really the source material for the movie Gremlins. Just
or critters
a little bit further, or critters.
Must be.
Or the ultimate small monster movie franchise, Critters.
Yeah,
which is go out and watch Critters. By the way, I so recommend it.
That's good. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I heard people say that they also view Tribbles as quite allegorical, like for, I think once it's like for the human love of cats. Like cats, we've kept them, we've bred them, and they have had a horrendous impact on our natural environment. Because I think, like, if you look at ecology, they say they've wiped out more species than anything else in natural areas. And like, because people like a cute wee fluffy thing. They say, and the Tribbles episode's almost a wee bit of an allegory for that. Because they make a nice pleasing sound to our ear. Cats do the same, they purr. But like, no one would want to go out exterminating cats because they've got it out of control. Who wants to be the man who orders, gives out that order?
And Klingons are allergic to them, of course, but not to cats, but to Tribbles. Sometimes to cats, maybe. That's yeah.
A good Klingon detector if you're going on a planet on the disputed border zone. You could have a Tribble pet with you. It would suss out any Klingons in
Smoke out
disguise.
Klingon. Yeah, absolutely.
And while we've got a Klingon on the show right now, I think an episode relevant to you, Private Little War.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
relevant.
Yeah.
That's some early kind of establishment of the Klingons there.
Absolutely. It's definitely, I would say, certainly the top 5 episodes in season 2. I would go for. Yeah, I love the Klingon portrayal in it. It's beginning to establish really the Klingons as the recurring alien. I'm not going to say villains because, of course, not villains. We are the heroes of the piece, but it's recurring alien species throughout all appearances of Star Trek over the years, and here, yeah, the Klingons are really putting down roots, I think, with this episode. So yeah, have to love it.
And I find if I remember right, here's one for. There's only 2 Star Trek movies which don't feature a Klingon. Do you know which ones they are now?
Oof, that's a tough one because I have kind of thought they were somewhere and appeared somewhere in all of them. But you're
No.
right. The one with neat. What's his name? The Romulan.
Nero.
Yes. Yeah. It's
Yes.
that one.
Sorry, the Kelvin one. Yep, correct. And what's the other one? There's no Klingons in it. There's no Klingons appear on screen.
Undiscovered country?
No, it's actually Wrath of Khan. There's no Klingons on screen in that.
Oh, okay.
So it's the only 2 movies in the whole of Star Wars you'd never see a Klingon on screen.
Interesting.
There you go. So there you go.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting how even when you watch TOS, you go in thinking, well, the Klingons were established. They're not in it that often. It's very sparingly. It's TNG that really made them into this big, iconic faction. I don't want to use, because villain, hero, it depends on your point of view and all that. So, but like they're obviously like a mainstay of Star Trek culture. They became such a huge part of it.
Well, obviously, in the original series, they are the analogy for the Soviet Union at the time. I think you see different theories on this, but I think it's quite well accepted that they are, and that's why they became recurring. But obviously, the costuming for Klingons in the original series is so basic as well, compared to what it would later be. Not only minus the ridges, but there is just no armor. They don't look like warriors at all at this stage. They are very much. Yeah.
And I think the first mention of Klingons being warriors is actually Star Trek 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because like you see the inside of a Klingon ship in motion picture. You don't get much info about what they're doing or what their culture is. But in 3, that's when they start talking about warriors, honor, we are Klingons, we're preserving our species, all that stuff starts to come up.
Yeah.
Which is like we've said that before, like really he was the prototype. Actual, what we think of Klingons, he was the prototype, Christopher Lloyd.
Very much so. Yep.
And then, of course, the man who really made it up was Martok. He's the ultimate Klingon.
The ultimate Klingon, yeah.
Which, of
The
course,
template Klingon.
all that good stuff is coming down the line as we work our way through the series.
Yeah.
So is there any other episodes? I think we'll go for a quick honourable mention of an episode, like maybe one you think gets the rap a wee bit unfairly, that's maybe deserves a bit more attention.
I would go for Assignment Earth.
Oh.
On that one, yeah. Mr. Seven. Obviously, sort of Earth just escaping disaster narrowly there in year 1968. Kind of going back, well, for them, obviously going back in time to the year it's made in. But yeah, I would say an honourable mention would be Assignment Earth. I was going to say Bread and Circuses, but I think that it divides opinion.
Yeah. But I think Assignment Earth does get a bit of an unfair rap off some people. It's a kind of nice way to finish it. I see they obviously hadn't come up with the idea of, because obviously it wasn't linear, it wasn't kind of serialized storytelling then, so they didn't know they were, this is us finishing out the season in a way, but it's a nice season ending one, a good one to finish out.
Yes.
Mark,
right,
do you have an honourable mention?
Assignment Earth was fun. It had a very it was quite an interesting episode. There was a bit of genuine tension. You know, can this guy keep ahead of them, even though he seems to be the good guy that the Enterprise are to other people? He's trying to keep them out of this situation, but without harming them. He's trying to do something for the greater good without interfering too much. He's setting the example that they normally set, but it's got a real kind of Man from Uncle 60s adventure program vibe. You know, the kind of ditzy secretary kind of expecting her to start doing some polka dot dress dancing to the monkeys. You know, it was one
doing
of those,
the twist or something. Doing his twist
something
or
like that. It was enjoyable, but it had a different feel about it to all the other ones. It was much
very
more
60s,
yeah. But I think the strange one I would say was the gamesters of oh no, not the gamesters. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good one, but no, that's not the one I want. Here we go. Wolf in the Field. Wolf in the Field, right?
Yeah.
Where there's an opening scene of a belly dancer mesmerizing her tummy and her gold coin costume mesmerizing Scotty and the captain, and but mostly Scotty. Scotty's quite besotted, which is interesting that Scotty and Chekov and people get to be, normal people who fancy other people and want to have relationships in this series. But Scotty's entranced with her, but the place is pretty much, a brothel by any other name where they are, and they're dancing, and then on the way out in the dark alley, Scotty goes up ahead in the dark alley, and then all of a sudden there's a scream, and he's found standing over the dead body of the belly dancer, holding a knife, and you think this is a bit weird,
bit of Cluedo.
Yeah, bit of Cluedo. Further down the line, three women killed, all with Scotty there, and he's no idea what happened during the things. And then all of a sudden, it's Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper's some entity from back in England, and I think it's very tenuous. I think they said to themselves, "Is there any way we can make a Star Trek episode with Jack the Ripper in it?" And they're like, probably not. But then they proved that you actually could. And to be fair, it was a very weird episode, But there was genuine tension. You were worried for Scotty he was going to be convicted. You were worried at the frequency with which women were being killed in this episode, another concern. But yeah, it's one I would recommend watching for several reasons, including the opening belly dancer. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, I'd say a good one. Mine is, I've got it right here. Ultimate Computer, just because relevance today is quite, it kind of went away, but, and also just nice. You actually get to see Daystrom portrayed by William Marshall. Fantastic act. That's got to say, in this second season, the strength of the supporting cast was amazing. The guest actors they got on. It wasn't so apparent in the first, but this season, some really noticeable guest stars they got on. And I've always got to wonder, after this utter disaster for his compute, why does he have an institute named after him, Daystrom? Because they keep on going about the Daystrom Prize and all that. I said, after this, would you really want any prize associated to win a Daystrom Prize or go to an institute like a guy created a computer and nearly plunged this Federation into, nearly caused severe casualties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you never know. The Daystrom Prize might be for someone whose well-intentioned experiment went wrong. So, yeah, you've done a Daystrom there. Not quite a Darwin, but just the next best thing. But no, good episode. Very relevant, AI and...
Yeah.
Well, more so now. It's not been as relevant as it is now, I think, because obviously we're seeing AI taking over a lot of jobs, and you're seeing a lot of people celebrating this for some weird reason. I don't know why. So
I think AI it's very relevant with today's concerns over AI, and the concerns about AI are so valid. But again, it's like the knife. We invented the knife. Should we have banned the knife and not invent every other metal tool that we've ever made came from the knife? We wouldn't be where we are. But AI really needs some sort of control on it from the start, like the knife should have had.
Yeah. Whether Doomsday Machines or Ultimate Computers, I think, as I said, both episodes could be kind of remade.
Yeah.
For today.
But saying that in true Star Trek style, later on, we got Data, which is the other side of AI. Because, as Martin's pointing out, we cannot view AI as just simply evil and wrong. It's concerning, but even I say there are uses. It's a tool. There is some benefits to it
as well. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's even stuff like I've done some work on our website. It needed some complex code, which I don't know how to do. I don't have any friends who can do it, but the AI was able to give me the code to do these quick fixes on a website. So a tool that can help you with things like that, I don't think anyone would have, but it's when it's a substitute for a thing in itself, when it replaces a whole creative or a whole like kind of effort or ingenuity. Yeah, then it's artwork, music, all that kind of stuff. But as a tool that can assist you, maybe speed up a task a little bit. Yeah, because another use I had was before we got our editor, I had to use AI tools to edit these podcasts because Martin, how many I do sometimes. How was I going to do that? Do all that? Because like 1 hour of podcast takes 3 hours to edit. So like, how was I ever going to edit all these shows and mix them and post-produce? So these AI tools sped it up, and now we've got a human editor, and I'm very glad she's here. Thank you, Robin. Thank you so much. You're our favourite member of the Eller family, by the way. We've got to keep saying that. You're way ahead of your brother. We can safely say it. Our brother's a host on this show, and you've not yet experienced Kieran to know what we're on about. So with that, I think we're coming up for a wrap. So your ranking of season 2 within TOS. So it's obviously 1, 2, 3. So where does season 2 fit?
For me, it's the best one. Definitely, it's the strongest. I think you could argue that season 1 was experimental in different ways. For the show, it was finding its feet. The chemistry between Spock, McCoy, and Kirk was there. but it wasn't fully developed the way it was. The sort of banter between them that you find in season 2 is fully developed, fully rounded. So I would definitely go season 2 top. I'm going to go season 1 next because I still think there's a lot of strengths in season 1. And season 3 is going to be in last place. So 2, 1, 3.
Yep. I would say, because we've done 2 of them. I'm going season 1 first just because there's way more, the highs are a lot higher, I think. Season 2 is more consistent, I agree with you there, but slightly lower quality, like, just the highs and
Especially in the Edge of Forever.
City
Yeah.
on the Edge of Forever, oh, jeez, I've forgotten all the names now. The Romulan one, Balance
Yeah.
of Power, is it? Balance of Terror.
Balance of Terror. Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
so many really impressive episodes for a first season of a show in the 60s as well, of a sci-fi show. It's just incredible. And then season 3, oh, that is way behind. We're going to have fun with season 3. We're really going to have fun when we get to that. Martin, where are you on this one?
Hold on till I check the ship's computer. Okay.
What's
Yes.
the AI say? You're going to consult the AI.
I've checked the AI and I'm going for 50-50 for season 1 and 2 for as always, things have good points and bad points. And I would say season 2, it's very clear that the actors have reached that stage, either a few episodes into a series or a series or 2 into a production, where the characters have developed themselves more so than the direct. The characters have become the characters they're going to become by themselves. They've added their own thing to it. The characters who gel with other characters like Spock, Kirk, and McCoy, their kind of trio have become established, and it's great to get to that stage in something that you're liking. However, I think that that's what kind of carries season 2 a little bit better for me. Whereas the season 1, these characters are not fully established, but the excitement of getting them out there and establishing them and finding out who's who and some of the episodes and the concepts introduced. So I'm going to go a 50-50 split with 1 and 2. Season 3, I can't remember that far back yet, so it's number 3 at the moment.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to go to season 3 at some point. But I will also say, other thing that TOS, although I'm not the biggest, it's not my most rewatch season. One thing I like about TOS is you genuinely get the feeling this crew is on their own and there's no help, no helpers, and that's why at times it's a lot more nerve-wracking watching season 1 when they're up against the Doomsday Machine, because 50 Starfleet ships aren't just going to warp all their way there to help them out. Like, they have to use their wits more than rely on the technology, which is it kind of drifted away from as it went on a bit. That's a point also. Like, it's got that atmosphere of isolation a lot of the time.
I tell you something.
No, I do know. I mean, I would rank, of all the Star Trek series, I would put TOS as number 2 behind DS9. Not in terms of, I accept not necessarily in terms of quality, but just in terms of favourite characters and episodes, and
because ultimately it boils down to what you enjoy. That's what we keep saying.
Yeah.
And if we get someone on the show and Discovery's their favourite, that's what you enjoy. Great.
So, and I think for a lot of people have said this a few times before on different podcasts, but I think it's what you grow up with yourself, or perhaps what you watch first.
Yeah.
And obviously it was TOS. So that was a show that hooked you into Star Trek in the first place. So it's always got a special place for that reason.
Yeah. And in a way, I've got to say, as you're growing up as a kid, TOS is actually because those bright uniforms and the kind of goofiness is very good for a kid's imagine. Whereas the kind of more kind of cerebral tone they went for with TNG, it's more difficult as a kid to get into that. So it kind of came at the right time for us, I think, all of these.
Definitely.
And so with that,
the colours that you're mentioning, I noticed that particularly in this season 2, that there's a lot of shots where the bridge is in the shot. The bridge with Captain Kirk in the middle, and then maybe Spock next to him, and Uhura on the other side, and then Chekov and somebody else. And when you look at it, they're all wearing their different coloured primary colour tops, and it's like the feeling you had when you were a kid and you first saw inside a box of Quality Streets, all the different coloured wrappers with
Yeah.
startling colours that just held your eyes and said, "Look at me, I'm exciting." There's loads of frames where they had that, and there was no reason for the other characters to be in those frames. They could have focused in on, just the captain's face or a couple of faces. But I think that colour thing was part of it. And then there's something else in here where in season 2 there's a lot of times where Kirk would be kind of angsty about something, and then instead of pressing the communicator or the switch on the wall that they had to press it, he would do this kind of, and then punch it like that to speak into it with the side of his fist. Make sure it's working. Bridge, do it now. He'd obviously discovered that by himself and thought, this is good, I'm going to keep doing this.
Yep.
Well, I like Quality Street as well. Remember when you got the big tin of Quality Street, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's just plasticky and small now. And I'm hoping that that's not an analogy for Star Trek.
No.
Big tin, and with all the colours and all the choices, and here we are getting smaller.
But with that, we're coming to the end, Martin. I think you know what's coming next. A bit of season 2 trivia. Shall we go for this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quiz time, Martin. The words every geek in Stornoway loves to hear me say. I've got a quiz for you. So, question number 1. In Metamorphosis, which historic figure is revealed to be the companion's partner?
Oh, Zac Efron.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Zefram Cochrane. Not Zac Efron.
Zac Efron. Not Zac Efron.
I know what you mean.
Not Zac Efron. Different. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
They were very ahead of their time if it was Zac Efron.
Yes. Yeah. Doomsday Machine features a massive planet killer. Which Starfleet Commodore takes command of the Enterprise during the crisis?
Robert April.
Robert April's the first captain of the Enterprise.
Mm-hmm. Nope. I'm about to run out of dicks.
It's on Doomsday Machine. It's in Doomsday Machine. Who hijacks the Enterprise? It's Commodore Matt Decker.
Okay.
Fascinating.
Okay. Catspaw. All right. In Catspaw, what is unusual about the episode's production history?
Ooh.
I don't really know. Can you explain the question better?
Well,
Something
I'll give
about
you
production history. It had to be. Yeah. Did it take months to put together?
No, it was
been reshot.
It was the first episode recorded for the series. For season 2. Okay, which episode introduces the concept of the Prime Directive being violated by a Federation historian?
And it's not a piece of the action.
No.
Well, it's mulled over. You gonna go Return to Tomorrow?
Omega Glory.
Oh, okay.
Right. In Return to Tomorrow, what are the names of the 3 ancient disembodied beings?
No.
Red, blue, and yellow.
No, Sargon, Thalassa, and Henoch. That's almost sounds Gaelic.
It's moved beyond University Challenge now.
Yeah. Which episode features Spock playing as Vulcan lute and singing? Any guesses?
Oh, the Gamesters of Triskelion.
No. Martin, you want to take a punt?
Hi, Mudd.
Changeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Private Little War, what animal-like a creature attacks Captain Kirk?
Oh, is that
No
is
way.
that the one with the It's like it's like an ape, white ape, but it's got a rhinoceros horn.
Yeah. Megato.
Yep, that's the one. Okay, in by any other name, what device do the Kelvins use to immobilize the crew?
A neuralizer belt.
Quite.
A neuralizer belt.
Any suggestions?
No.
Guesses?
No.
Paralysis field emitter.
Okay.
Which,
I'm going to have to bid you good night on that one because I'm at 1%.
all right. Okay. Well, I don't know. Well, here we go. Which episode ends with Spock delivering the dry line? I was merely stating fact, Doctor, not making an accusation. This is the last question.
Okay. I'm going to go for Patterns of Force.
Sadly, no, Martin. You've got a...
Human Earth.
No, it's Ultimate Computer.
This unit is the ultimate achievement in computer evolution.
And with that, thank you everyone for
Okay.
tuning in. And we will very quickly say goodbye to Rob because his dilithium supplies are running out. It's always
Kapla!
always a pleasure, Rob. And we'll see you for
Thank
season 3.
Thanks for having me. Good night.
All right.
Yeah,
Good
man.
night. And same to you, Martin. Always a pleasure to have you on. And we're going to have to dredge through season 3, unfortunately. But
Yes, it's inevitable.
and it'll be interesting if Eileen makes that, because Turnabout Intruder is something else.
Okay.
She'll have words about that one, Eileen, for sure.
I'll speak to Eileen to make sure she's going to be available for this one.
Because I think she might have a whole sermon ready to go on about the awfulness of that one.
Turnabout Computer, it's called, is it?
Turnabout Intruder. It's where Kirk switches bodies with a woman, and then you get to see Shatner behaving how he thinks women are, which is, yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay.
And it even has the line, "That's why women aren't captains."
Okay.
I think we can hear Eileen screaming in the distance right now. She could telepathically hear us. She's already mad.
If she could reach through that screen and grab you by the microphone.
No, not me. It's the Star Trek writer she has to grab for that.
Yeah, but it's your fault for bringing it up.
Oh well, we are waiting season 3. She's gonna have words to say for sure.
Okay.
Okay, and with that, Martin, thanks for coming along, and thanks everyone for listening and watching, and live long and prosper, and we'll see you for season 3 soon, I hope.
Yep. Live long and prosper. Cheers, man.
Maximum warp.